Peace be upon you. This is Said Mirza from MillionaireReason.com, and we're going to be continuing on with our Quran study session. This is session number 6. We left off at 134, chapter 4, verse 134. So we're going to start from chapter 4, verse 135 in this session. This is Brother Gerrans' translation of Quran and Complete Revelation, and I'm going to be going on reader.Qur'anite.com. So if you want to follow me, you can just watch this video or go on reader.Qur'anite.com and investigate what I'm telling you here. The reason I want doing this series is because I've been a student of the Quran for the past 8 years, and God has given me many insights into the Quran. So I figured it was my duty to make videos, kind of going over some of the things that I noticed as far as the Quranic reading. A lot of these things that I'm talking about, they owe their genesis to Brother Gerrans' work, the Quran and Complete Revelation. So I suggest that you look into his work more carefully, more deeply, if you want to know why he's translating Al-Lazina Amanu as those who heed warning, or Al-Kafirun as the false claimers of guidance, because there is a method to why he's doing it this way. So let's begin. Verse 135, chapter 4. In the name of God, the Almighty, the Merciful, I seek refuge in God from Satan the accursed. O you who heed warning, stand firm with equity, witnesses to God, though it be against yourselves, or parents, or relatives. Whether he be rich or poor, God is closer to both. So follow not vain desires, lest you be unjust. And if you distort or evade, God is aware of what you do. O you who heed warning, believe in God and his messenger, and the writ that he has sent down upon his messenger, and the writ that he has sent down before. And whoso denies God, and his angels, and his writs, and his messengers, and the last day, he has strayed far away. You will notice that this exhortation to the Allazina Amanu, which is usually translated as the believers, it's saying that you need to believe in God and his messenger and the writ. And the writ is the Al-Kitab, which is the written set of commands that are contained in the Quran. And if you want more information on the various laws as they are dealing with inheritance, or with orphans, or sexual immorality, then I suggest you look at my book, God's Written in the Quran, the Guidance for the God-Fearing. But anyway, you see the emphasis that is placing that you need to believe in God and his messenger and the writ. And in the Quranic parlance, belief, obviously belief means to have faith, but also in the Quranic parlance, belief means to implement. So it's saying that you need to implement the writ. And this is why the verse 135 was commanding the believers, or those who heed warning, to stand firm with equity. So they need to apply the writ, the laws in the writ, against themselves, parents or relatives, rich or poor. They need to fairly apply the laws. And those who deny God and his angels and his writs, as in, again, they don't implement the writs, and his messengers and the last day, then they have strayed far away. Those who heed warning, then deny, then believe, then deny, then increase in denial, God will not forgive them nor guide them on a path. So now this is the people who are the munafiqeen. They are the waverers, as in they hold fast to God's law, and then they throw it behind their backs, because they're worldly men. They're interested in they're practical men, so they're interested in what's of use at the moment. And it says here in verse 138, bear thou tidings to waverers that they have a painful punishment. So they have a painful punishment because they are playing games with God's writ. Those who take the false claimers of guidance as allies rather than the believers, do they seek with them power and glory? But power and glory belong to God altogether. So these people, they are taking the Al-Kafirun as allies rather than the believers, because certain times the Al-Kafirun are the ones who are at the top. And so, in order to please them, they throw the writ of God behind their backs. And when the believers are at the top, then they follow the writ. So it's saying, do they seek with them power and glory? Power and glory belongs to God altogether. And he has sent down upon you in the writ, that when you hear the proofs of God denied and mocked, sit not with them until they discourse vainly concerning a subject other than that. Then you be like them. God will gather the waverers and the false claimers of guidance into Gehenna altogether. Those who watch and wait with regard to you, then if there be a victory for you from God, they say, were we not with you? But if there be for the false claimers of guidance a portion, they say, did we not gain mastery over you, but defended you against the believers? And God will judge between you on the day of resurrection. And God makes not for the false claimers of guidance any path against the believers. See, they depending on the situation, they're changing. The waverers seek to deceive God, but he is deceiving them. And when they rise up for the duty, they rise up to be seen of men, and remember not God save a little. Wavering in between, neither to these nor to those. And he whom God causes to go astray, thou wilt not find for him a path. See, the word here is thou. This is referring to the recipient of the Quran, the messenger, Muhammad. See, if God chooses to lead someone astray, then Muhammad cannot guide him. This is one of the things that Muslims keep on saying, that Muhammad could guide, but he couldn't guide. No one can guide except God. So these waverers, they show themselves as believers, to dress up, but in reality they're not believers. They rise up to be seen of men, and remember not God save a little. Verse 144, O you who heed warning, take not the false claimers of guidance as allies instead of the believers. Would you give God over you a clear authority? So don't take them as protectors. Don't take them as allies, rather than the believers. I know in this day and age it's difficult because there's no believers around us. There's no community. But we need to be very wary of the al-kafirun, the false claimers of guidance. The waverers will be in the lowest depths of the fire, and thou wilt find no helper for them, save those who repent and make right, and hold fast to God, and are sincere in their doctrine to God. Those are with the believers, and God will give the believers a great reward. So the waverers, again, it's important that you understand that this is not the hypocrites. This is the usual translation of this word, because a hypocrite is someone who hides the truth inside of him. He is pretending. The waverers, they are wavering. See, they're not sure which party they want to be a part of, because they change. They change sides. The hypocrites are actually the al-kafirun, those who the false claimers of guidance, because they are the ones who say, we believe, but they do not really believe. And when it is said to them, follow what God has sent down, then they don't. So this is the hypocrites in the truest sense of the word are the al-kafirun. The waverers are not sure where they belong. But if they repent and they make right and they hold fast to God, then they are sincere in the doctrine, then they are with the believers. What has God to do with your punishment if you are grateful and believe? And God is grateful and knowing. God likes not the public mention of evil save by one wronged, and God is hearing and knowing. Verse 148. This is one of the things that I've noticed a lot in the YouTube sphere, where people routinely mention evils that others have done. God here. This is a warning. Don't do a public mention of evil unless you are the one who's wronged. So this constant talking about evil that other people are doing, this goes against verse 148. Verse 149. If you reveal good or keep it secret or forgive evil, God is pardoning and powerful. Those who deny God and his messengers and wish to make a distinction between God and his messengers and say, we believe in some and deny some, and wish to choose a path in between. It is they who are the false claimers of guidance in truth, and we have prepared for the false claimers of guidance a humiliating punishment. And those who believe in God and his messengers and make not a distinction between any of them, those will God give the rewards, and God is forgiving and merciful. The doctors of the law asked thee to bring down upon them a writ from the sky, and they asked of Moses greater than that. They said, show thou us God openly. So the thunderbolt seized them for their injustice. Then took they up the calf after clear signs had come to them, and we pardoned that, and we gave Moses a clear authority. And we raised above them the mount for their agreement, and we said to them, enter the gate in submission, and we said to them, transgress not the Sabbath, and we took from them a stern agreement. Now, as you know, this entering the gate in submission, this is the thing that they were commanded to fight, and they didn't fight. And in the narrative, if you pay attention, where that happens, this was the thing that basically after this they were left to wander 40 years. Moses left them. So this is how important fighting is in the cause of God. The other thing is that they were told to not transgress the Sabbath. So every agreement that they made with God, they broke. Um, so, because of their violation of their agreement and their denial of the proofs of God and their killing of the prophets without cause, and their saying, "Our hearts are covered," nay, God sealed them for their denial, so they do not believe save a few. And because of their denial and their saying against Mary a tremendous calumny, and for this saying, "We killed the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, the messenger of God," and they killed him not, nor crucified him, but it seemed so to them, and those who dispute concerning it are in doubt thereof. No knowledge have they thereof, save the pursuit of conjecture, and they killed him not of a certainty. Nay, God brought it before him, and God is exalted in might and wise. And there is no doctor of the law save will believe therein before his death, and on the day of resurrection it will be a witness against him. So, now coming back to this thing, it says clearly that they did not kill uh, Jesus, son of Mary, but it seems so to them. And those who dispute, they are in doubt thereof, and they are following conjecture, and they killed him not of a certainty. So God is clear, they didn't kill him. Now, I differ a little bit on Brother Gerrans' translation here. My understanding is that it's saying, no, Rafa'ullahu, God raised him to himself. Wakan Allah Azizun Hakim, and God is exalted in God is exalted in might and wise. So God raised him to himself. What that means, I don't know, but this is my reading of the text. God raised him to himself. He did die. Everyone dies, and we're going to read this, God willing, in the next session, where God says that who can stop God from killing Mary and Jesus and all of mankind. So everyone dies. Jesus died, but God raised him. God raised him to himself. That's what it says. And then it says, and there is none among the doctors of law, Ahlul Kitab, illa liyuminanna bihi, that he believed in him before his death. As in, these doctors of the law, because you gotta read this in context. The doctors of the law, they are saying to Muhammad that you need to bring down a writ from the sky. They're challenging him. You need to do this. And God said that they asked of Moses greater than that. They said, show us God openly. And so if you read that in context, you see what happens here is that they were never denying, they were never believing anyway. They never believed Moses, Jesus, or whoever. They never believed. So God is saying here that the doctors of the law, none of them believed in him before his death. They didn't believe in him as a messenger of God, and on the day of resurrection, he yakunu alayhim shahidan, he will be a witness unto them, as in he will say, yeah, they never believed in me. Because if you remember, Jesus, the only people who believed in him were the Hawariyun, which Brother Gerrans translates as the white garbed ones. And those are the only people who were, because Jesus said, who will be the helpers of God? And they said, we will be the helpers. So this is what it means, that the Ahlul Kitab, they didn't believe in him before his death, because they're disbelievers, really. Verse 160, so for injustice among those who hold to Judaism, we made unlawful to them good things which had been made lawful to them, and for their turning away from the path of God much, and for their taking of usury when they had been forbidden it, and their consuming the wealth of men in vanity, and we have prepared for the false claimers of guidance among them a painful punishment. So again, here is talking about usury, which is forbidden in the Al-Kitab. They were taking that, and they're consuming the wealth of men in vanity, so they were running schemes, scams to basically defraud men. This is the kind of stuff they were doing. You will see parallels of the same thing happening with the Muslims too. And God says, and we are prepared for the false claimers of guidance. So these are the Al-Kafirun. Verse 162. But those firm in knowledge and the believers among them believe in what is sent down to thee and what was sent down before thee, as do the upholders of the duty and the renders of the purity, and the believers in God in the last day. Those will we give a great reward. So those who are firm in knowledge and the believers among them, so they're not all alike. They believe in what is sent down to Muhammad and what was sent down before Muhammad, as do the upholders of duty and the renders of purity. Or you could translate this as, and the upholders of duty and the renders of purity. So, because the upholding the duty is upholding the commandments of God. So this is what it is. Like I said, belief is not just simply saying I believe or I disbelieve. It's actually belief is implementing. Is implementing. This is key. Is implementing the commandments of God. That's in the Quranic understanding. That's belief. It's the same situation with the Muslims. They say we believe in the Quran, but they don't uphold the Quran. See, they don't uphold the commandments of God in the Quran. They uphold the Hadith literature or whatever the Sunni, their sheikhs or whatever they tell them to uphold. We have revealed to thee as we revealed to Noah and the prophets after him, and we revealed to Abraham and Ishmael and Isaac and Jacob and the grandsons and Jesus and Job and Jonah and Aaron and Solomon, when we gave David writings. I'm going to give you the Arabic words here as well. It's important to note that even though Brother Gerrans is translating these in the anglicized form, these words, you have to be careful, because just because you translate it in this way doesn't mean that we agree with the narratives of the Christians and the Jews and the Muslims, okay, about these men. We don't know. God gives us the names of these men in Arabic, and we are making the connection that these are the biblical figures, but not necessarily. That's, I think, one of the things that people forget. So, we have revealed to thee as we revealed to Nuh and the prophets after him, and we revealed to Ibrahim and Ismail and Ishaq and Yaqub and the grandsons and Isa and Ayub and Yunus and Harun and Suleiman, and we gave Dawood writings. And messengers we have related to thee before, and messengers we have not related to thee. And God spoke to Moses with speech, Musa with speech. So God, as you know, he was called. Musa was called when he was in a journey, and God spoke to him. Messengers as bearers of glad tidings and warners, that men might have no argument against God after the messengers, and God is exalted in might and wise. But God bears witness to what he has sent down to thee. He sent it down with his knowledge, and the angels bear witness, but sufficient is God as witness. Those who ignore warning and turn away from the path of God have strayed into far error. Those who ignore warning and do wrong, God will not forgive them, nor will he guide them on a road, save the road to Gehenna, they abiding eternally therein forever, and that is easy for God. Now, this is a very stark warning. Those who ignore warning, because about those who ignore warning in Lazina Kafaru, we find in chapter 2, in the beginning, it says, those who ignore warning, it is the same to them whether you warn them or you have not warned them, they do not believe. See, those who ignore warning and do wrong, God will not forgive them, nor will he guide them on a road. Save the road to Gehenna. Their case is closed. All right. Verse 170, O mankind, the messenger has come to you with the truth from your Lord. So believe, it is better for you. And if you deny, to God belongs what is in the heavens and the earth, and God is knowing and wise. The messenger has come to you with the truth from your Lord. Who? Mankind. So Muhammad was a messenger to mankind. He was not a messenger to just the Arabs. This is another thing that Muslims seem to get wrong. They're always looking for the Arabs to guide them. No, the Quran was sent down to mankind. So all of mankind is supposed to study the Quran. O doctor of the law, exceed not bounds in your doctrine, nor ascribe to God save the truth. The Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, was only the messenger of God, and his word which he conveyed to Mary, and a spirit from him. So believe in God and his messengers, and say not three. Desist. It is best for you. God is but one God. Glory be to him that he should have a son. To him belongs what is in the heavens and what is in the earth, and God is sufficient as disposer of affairs. So, what does that mean? The Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, was only the messenger of God, and his word which he conveyed to Mary. So God's word, when he intends a thing to be, he says to it, be, and it is. So that was the word that was conveyed to Mary. This is it. Christians make a big deal about this word, like it's some sort of mystery. We already know. God already told us what his word is, be, and it is. That's The likeness of Jesus is like the likeness of Adam. He created him from dust. Then he um, said to him, "Be," and he was. Verse 172. The Messiah would not disdain to be a servant to God, nor would the angels brought near. And whoso disdains his service and waxes proud, he will gather to him all together. See, the Messiah would not disdain. He would not be a servant to. He would not disdain to be a servant to God. He worshipped God in the sense that he called out to God. He asked him for help and um, glorified him, and the angels as well. And then, as for those who heed warning and do righteous deeds, he will give them their rewards in full and increase them out of his bounty. And as for those who disdain and wax proud, he will punish them with a painful punishment, and they will not find for them besides God ally or helper. Verse 174. O mankind, there has come to you evidence from your Lord, and we have sent down to you a clear light. Then, as for those who believe in God and hold fast to him, he will make them enter into mercy from him and bounty, and he will guide them to him by a straight path. They ask thee for a ruling, say thou. God gives you the ruling concerning those without an immediate heir. If a man perishes without a child, but has a sister, for her is half of what he left, and he inherits from her if she has not a child. But if there are two females, for them is 2/3 of what he left. And if they are brethren, men and women, for the male is the like of the share of two females, and God makes plain to you lest you go astray, and God knows all things. So this has to do with the inheritance laws. This was already covered in the beginning of this chapter. This is another ordinance that ends up at the end of this chapter, and with that we're done with chapter 4. Just want to verify the likeness of Adam, that I gave you the verse correctly, and then I will move on to chapter 5. Just want to make sure, because I don't want to say something here and then okay, so we're just going to do a search on Jesus. Okay. Yeah, so the likeness of Jesus in the sight of God is as the likeness of Adam. He created him from dust, and he said to him, "Be thou," and he was. Chapter 3, verse 59 for your reference purposes. So now we move on to chapter 5 of the Quran. So let's start with that and see how far we can go, God willing. In the name of God, the Almighty, the Merciful, I seek refuge in God from Satan the accursed. This is Al-Ma'idah, the table spread. O you who heed warning, fulfill contracts. Made lawful for you is grazing livestock, save what is recited to you, hunting not being permitted when you are forbidden. God ordains what he wills. Now this is still part of the Al-Kitab, as I mentioned, unless there is another Muqattat instance. My understanding is that the previous Kitab is still ongoing, because the Quran is divided into Kitabs, books, and then it's further divided into chapters. So this is chapter 5, Surah 5, and we're still on the Alif Lam Mim, which is also called the Al-Kitab, the writ, and it contains in it the ordinances. And this is chapter 5 is again giving us more ordinances, and this has to do with the dietary law. So made lawful for you is grazing livestock. This is quadrupeds, basically cattle. So cow, sheep, goat, all this stuff is included in grazing livestock. Save what is recited to you, hunting not being permitted when you are forbidden. God ordains what he wills. Now, the traditionalist likes to talk a lot about what this means. For our purposes, we're not interested in this, because this has to do with the inviolable place of worship, Masjid al-Haram, and there is no Masjid al-Haram now. That's really the fact on the ground. At this day and age, what the Masjid al-Haram that the Muslims say, this is just a place that houses their idol, the Kaaba stone idol, and all the stuff they're doing, the rituals, that's just pagan stuff. That's nothing to do with what the Quran is saying. The Masjid al-Haram, we don't know where it is. It's gone. It's finished. The job of the messenger was to go to the Masjid al-Haram, use it as a platform to warn men, and he did that, and that chapter is closed. So we're not interested on this piece. But we are interested in knowing what is lawful for us of grazing livestock, because this will be picked up in verse 3. So let's just read verse 2. O you heed warning, violate not the tokens of God, nor the inviolable month, nor the offering, nor the necklaces, nor the visitors to the inviolable house. This is the Al Baytul Haram. This is the house that was built by um, the original house was built in Bakka, not Makkah, by Ibrahim, and that's really, I think that's all we need to know. Nor the visitors to the inviolable house seeking the favor of their Lord and approval. And when you are permitted, then you may hunt. And let not hatred of a people who turn you away from the inviolable place of worship, this is the Masjid al-Haram, move you to commit injustice, and assist one another to virtue and prudent fear, and assist not one another in sin and enmity. And be in prudent fear of God. God is severe in retribution. Now we pick up again with what is allowed to us or forbidden of grazing livestock. So, verse 3, forbidden to use carrion. This is dead meat, rotten meat, and blood. Well, not even rotten meat, dead meat. Any animal that has been, well, we're gonna read to you. God's gonna tell me. God's gonna tell us what this is all about. Okay, so forbidden to use carrion and blood and the flesh of swine. This is pigs, and that dedicated to other than God, and the strangled. Okay, so now you're getting into this territory. Carrion, okay, because this is dead meat. So what is that? And the strangled. So strangled, beaten. Well, actually, let's just read this through, and then I'll look at the translations too. I want to kind of be careful with how I word this. This is already covered in my book, God's Written in the Quran. So I do suggest you read that carefully. Okay, so forbidden to use carrion and blood and the flesh of swine, and that dedicated to other than God, and the strangled, and the beaten, and the fallen, and the gored, and that eaten by the beast of prey, save what you slaughter, and that sacrifice upon the altar, and that you seek apportionment by divining arrows. That is perfidy. This day have those who ignore warning despaired of your doctrine. So fear them not, but fear me. This day have I perfected for you your doctrine, and completed my favor upon you, and approved for you submission as doctrine. But whoso is compelled by hunger without inclination to sin, God is forgiving and merciful. So let's look at translations. Okay, so Arbery says, forbidden to you are carrion, blood, the flesh of swine, and what has been hallowed to other than God. Sahih says, prohibited to you are dead animals, blood, the flesh of swine. And Hilalian Khan said, forbidden to you are al-maitata, the dead animals, cattle, beasts not slaughtered. So this is their interpolation. They're saying that cattle, beast that is not slaughtered, and when they say slaughtered, they have a very technical meaning of what that means. It has to, this is the whole, the Zabiya thing, okay? So we can disregard this because this is a very sectarian understanding of it. But coming back to what here Arbery is saying, he's saying carrion. And Say International says dead animals. But I think the best way to go about it is to just look at the dictionaries and see what they say, because they're going to give us the general term. Okay, so let's see, Maitat. Okay, so we're going to look at Lane's lexicon first. All right, where is it? Okay, so the verb is form one. It means he died. Okay, that doesn't really help us. Let's keep going. Okay, so here you go. Maitun, carrion, whosoever has not been killed in the manner prescribed by the law. Okay, that's what they're saying. Let's look at Lane's lexicon. Let's look at all dictionaries here. Let's see what Hans Word has to say about this. Okay, so Maitatan, he says manner of death. Okay, here you go. Corpse, carcass, carrion, meat of an animal not slaughtered in accordance with ritual requirements, Islamic law. So it's a dead animal. Really, that's what the understanding is. It's a carcass, carrion. So that's what we understand. So this is how Brother Gerrans is translating this as carrion. I'm just trying to show you. You can always go back and look at dictionaries and translations to figure stuff out too. You don't really need to take, any translation as the sort of like, this is exactly how it should be. So anyway, coming back here. So forbidden to use carrion and blood and the flesh of swine and that dedicated to other than God and the strangled. So any animal that's been strangled and the beaten and the fallen and the gored and that eaten by the beast of prey, save to slaughter and that sacrifice upon the altar. Now a lot of this stuff has to do with pagan rituals. See, the pagans, they used to beat animals till they died as part of their rituals, or sacrificing upon the altar. This is also a classic pagan thing to do. Seek apportionment by dividing arrows. This was something that apparently the Arabs used to do. Regardless, it doesn't really apply to us in this day and age. Okay, verse 4. They ask thee what is made lawful for them. Say thou, made lawful for you are good things, and what you have trained of animals of prey as trainers, teaching them of what God taught you. Eat of what they catch for you, and remember the name of God over it, and be in prudent fear of God. God is swift in reckoning. So they're still asking, okay, what is lawful for us? Uh, but again, this has to do with, you have to remember, this has to do with grazing livestock. This verse 3. Okay, and this is the reason why you don't slaughter fish, because the fish is not being talked about here. This is only talking about grazing livestock, which I told you is cattle, quadrupeds. So they ask thee what is made lawful for them. Say thou, made lawful for you are good things. So this covers obviously the things that animals of prey would catch. Now again, we don't live in a society where you have animals of prey who you train to go and catch for you. If you have a trained hog, that's great, but most people don't. Say thou, made lawful for you are good things, and what you have trained of animals of prey as trainers, teaching them of what God taught you. Eat of what they catch for you, and remember the name of God over it, and be in prudent fear of God. God is swift in reckoning. Verse 5. This day are good things made lawful to you, and the food of those given the writ is lawful for you, and your food is lawful for them, as are chaste women among the believing women, and chaste women among those given the writ before you, when you have given them their dowries, being chaste and not fornicators, nor taking secret friends. And whoso denies the faith, his work has been in vain, and he in the hereafter is among the losers. So, what we take from this is that those people given the writ, their food is lawful for us, and their women are also lawful for us. See, chaste women among the believing women, and chaste women among those given the writ before you. Now, obviously, Muslims take this to mean they can go ahead and marry, like an American girl. Okay, let's just say the U.S. Okay, because she's from those given the writ before us. No, that has nothing to do with this. See, this is about people who are actually following the writ, and this is why their women are lawful, and their fruit is lawful because they are following the law. See, the law is the same. Um, if you, like I said in the book, I talked about the food thing, right? So if you can eat the food of the Jews, in the sense you can eat the meat. The Jews have it's called the sakita method, which is the way of kosher meat. So they slaughter the animal, and you'll see that the way they slaughter is okay, because it's not going against any of the commandments in verse 3. They don't allow the animal to be strangled, beaten, fallen, gored, and all the rest of this stuff. So this is why we can eat their food, and their women are lawful for us because they are following the law. So it's not that those given the writ, okay, fine. The Christians, they were given the writ, and even though the writ they don't really have, they just have something called the New Testament, which they haven't read and certainly don't follow. That's nothing to do with this. Or 6. Oh, you heed warning. When you rise up for the duty, wash your faces and your hands to the elbows, and wipe your heads and your feet to the ankles. And if you are unclean, purify yourselves. And if you are ill or on a journey, or one of you comes from the privy, or you have lain with women, then find not water, resort to clean soil, and wipe your faces and your hands with it. God wishes not to place any distress upon you, but he wishes to purify you and to complete his favor upon you, that you might be grateful. Okay, now this is talking about the two times the duty that is incumbent upon the believers. They are to glorify, praise God, and read the Quran. So when they're rising up for this duty, they need to follow this protocol. They need to wash their faces and their hands to the elbows and wipe their heads and their feet to the ankles. And if they are unclean, they need to purify themselves. And the Arabic is fatahadu. So they need to purify themselves. And what does that mean? Unclean. It's telling you what it means. If you're ill, or if you were ill, or you were on a journey, or you came from the privy. And in Arabic, the word, Brother Gerrans has a note here, Arabic al-ghait, the root of this word suggests a connection with defecation rather than the passing of urine only. So if you, I think in his earlier translation, he did this as one of you comes from, I think defecating. I might be wrong. Anyway, so has to do with that. Or you have lain with women. That's pretty self-explanatory. And find not water. So if you don't find water, then what are you supposed to do? Then you're supposed to do this thing. Resort to clean soil and wipe your faces and your hands with it. So you need to purify yourself. Now, is leaving it open, see, purify yourselves. Because we're going to read somewhere else that talks about wash yourselves. It's going to say, if you are unclean, wash yourselves. I think it's in... Actually, I think we read that already, 443. So let's go back to that one, and we'll come back to this. Okay, so 443. Oh, you heed warning. Approach not the duty when you are intoxicated until you understand what you say, nor when you are unclean. See, same thing. And then it tells you what unclean is. Say, if I passing by upon the path until you wash. See, now it just says until you wash. What does that mean, wash? It's up to you. You could do wash completely or wash... it just says wash. And if you were ill or on a journey, or one of you comes from the privy, or you have lain with women, then find not water, resort to clean soil and wipe your faces and your hands. God is pardoning and forgiving. So see, it's the same thing repeated in 5:6. So it's telling you what that word means, junub and unclean, what that is. The same wording. Anyway, 5:6. Okay, 7. And remember the favor of God upon you and his agreement which he agreed with you when you said, we hear and we obey, and be in prudent fear of God. God knows what is in the breasts. Verse 8. O you heed warning, stand firm for God, witnesses with equity, and let not hatred of a people move you, that you act not equitably. Do justice, that is near to prudent fear, and be in prudent fear of God. God is aware what you do. This exhortation already came in the last part of chapter 4, that we are to stand firm for God, witnesses with equity. We are to do justice. And God has promised those who heed warning and do righteous deeds, for them is forgiveness and a great reward. And those who ignore warning and deny our proofs, those are the companions of hell. Verse 11. O you who heed warning, remember the favor of God upon you when a people purpose to stretch out their hands against you, and he restrained their hands from you, and be in prudent fear of God, and in God then let the believers place their trust. So it's recounting a past favor that God did to the believers in that he restrained the hands of their enemies. Now God's going to talk about the agreement. And because this is important, because if you know, in chapter 2 there was a lot of agreements that were made with the children of Israel which they broke, and God kept on turning towards them. So these agreements, we are also in agreement with God, and by looking at the agreements that were made to the past peoples, we can understand what our agreement is. When you just read their agreements and you try to follow the agreements they made with God, which they broke. So let's look at these agreements. And God took an agreement with the children of Israel, and we raised up among them 12 leaders. And God said, I am with you if you uphold the duty and render the purity and believe in my messengers and support them and lend to God a goodly loan. I will remove from you your evil deeds and make you enter gardens beneath which rivers flow. But whoso among you denies after that has strayed from the right path. Now, see this again, this aqimus salat wa atu zakat, uphold the duty and render the purity. This does not mean to establish a ritual prayer and pay the zakat, pay money. That's obviously spending money in the cause of God is a big thing. I've already talked about that. But here it's meaning to uphold the commandments of God and to bring the purity, to become pure men, become men of God. So this is what the agreement was with the children of Israel. They, as you know, um, they broke that agreement. They threw the book of God behind their backs. So for their violation of the agreement, we cursed them and made their hearts hard. They twist words from their places and have forgotten a portion of that they were reminded of. And thou wilt not cease to find treachery among them, save a few among them. But pardon thou them and forbear thou. God loves the doers of good. Now, see, they because they violated the agreement, God cursed them, which in the Quranic parlance to mean to curse is that you're misguided. See, God cursed Shaitan as well. So there's no way back, and he made their hearts hard. Has to do. My understanding is this has to do with lacking compassion, or not having, of being very rigid. This is one of the things that traditionalists or the religion is really there. That's their problem. They can't. They're so rigid. They're not flexible at all, in their thinking or their actions. Anyway, it says they twist words from their places. It reminds you of someone who twists words from its places, who takes things out of context or gives you half of verses, and have forgotten a portion of what they were reminded of. Again, this is something that the Muslims, they don't follow the Quran, they don't read the Quran, they've forgotten a portion of what they were reminded of. And thou will not cease to find treachery among them. And see, this treachery, this has to do with the fact that the believers here are being told to stand firm for God and to do justice. These guys they're not implementing the commandments of God. See, this is really the core of it. And among those who say we are Christians, we took their agreement. Then they forgot a portion of that they were reminded of. And we brought about among them enmity and hatred until the day of resurrection. And God will inform them of what they wrought. So now, because of the Christians, what they did, God brought about among them hatred, enmity and hatred. Does this remind you of another sect? Their constant fighting between their sects. Verse 15, O doctor of the law, our messenger has come to you, making clear to you much of what you hate of the writ, and pardoning much. There has come to you light from God and a clear writ, whereby God guides him who seeks his approval to the ways of peace, and brings them out of darkness into the light by his leave, and he guides them to a straight path. They have denied who say God is the Messiah, son of Mary. Say thou, who would have power over God for anything if he wished to destroy the Messiah, son of Mary, and his mother, and everyone upon the earth altogether? Sorry about that. Still getting over a cold. And to God belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth and what is between them. He creates what he wills, and God is over all things powerful. This is a very powerful argument. See what it says here. It says, they have denied who say God is the Messiah, son of Mary. That he is the Messiah is God. And God says to the messenger, this is the speech of the messenger. He's being directed to say something. That's what the word qul means. Say thou. Who would have power over God for anything if he wished to destroy the Messiah, son of Mary, and his mother, and everyone upon the earth altogether? This is not a hypothetical question. Who has power? Could anyone prevent God from giving the Messiah death? He destroyed him. See, Jesus died. Who was the son of Mary? He died, and she died, and his mother. See, they're dead. And everyone upon the earth altogether. Yes, everyone upon the earth altogether during the Quranic revelation when it was sent down, everyone upon the earth altogether did die, because everyone lives and dies. See, all of mankind has died in the sense that the previous generations are dead. God is constantly replacing men. So everyone has a time limit of 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, maybe 100 years. But then they also die. So, see, no one can prevent God from doing this. It's not a hypothetical statement. No one has the power over God. See, this is what the whole argument is. No one has the power over God. See, don't you see? Don't you see? God has already destroyed the Messiah, son of Mary, his mother, and everyone upon the earth altogether. He creates what he wills, and God is over all things powerful. Very powerful argument. And the rabbinic Jews and the Christians say, we are the sons of God and his beloved. Say thou, why then does he punish you for your transgressions? Nay, you are but mortals among those he created. He forgives whom he wills, and he punishes whom he wills. And to God belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth and what is between them, and to him is the journey's end. So, don't claim that you are a special status or that you are somehow God's beloved. You are just men that he created, among the men he created, and he forgives whom he wills and he punishes whom he wills, because God is the sovereign. To him belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. Verse 19. O doctor of the law, our messenger has come to you, making clear to you upon an interval between the messengers, lest you say, there came not to us any bearer of glad tidings or warner, but there has come to you a bearer of glad tidings and warner, and God is over all things powerful. And when Moses said to his people, O my people, remember the favor of God upon you, when he made among you prophets, and made you kings, and gave you what he had not given to any among all mankind. God made among them two prophets. If you remember, Musa and Harun, Moses and Aaron, they were both prophets. So God did a big favor on the children of Israel because he sent to them two prophets and made among them kings. And he had given them what he had not given any of mankind. Verse 21 continues, O my people, enter the holy land which God has prescribed for you, and turn not back, for you will turn back as losers. Now they're expected to fight. They said, O Moses, therein is a people of giants, and we will not enter it until they go out therefrom. And if they go out therefrom, then we will enter. Now this word Jabarin, Brother Gerrans is translating as giants, also translated as tyrants, men given to vehement force. Basically, the children of Israel were scared of them. Kind of parallels what's going on in the world right now in the Middle East. So these men were scared of entering this city because there were men in there who were tyrants. They were given to vehement force, as in they were people who were experienced in war. Said two men of those who feared, whom God hath favored, enter upon them by the gate. For when you have entered by it, then will you be victorious, and in God place your trust, if you be believers. So said two men of those who feared. And this is interesting. It leaves it open. See, they feared. And then it says God had favored them. So we can deduce that they feared God. They were not fearing man because God had favored them. Enter upon them by the gate. For when you have entered by it, then will you be victorious, and in God place your trust, if you be believers. So, what do we get out of this? They said, who are these two men? We'll get to that. But anyway, God had favored them, these men, and they came up with a strategy. They said, if you enter upon them by the gate, and when you enter it, you will be victorious, and in God place your trust, if you be believers. They said, O Moses, we will not enter it ever, as so long as they remain therein. So go thou and thy Lord, and fight. We will sit here. Now, another translation would be, they said, O Musa, we will not enter it ever, so long as they remain therein. So go, you, thou, Warabuka, and thy Lord, faqatila, this is in the dual, so it could mean you two fight. We will sit here. So they're saying, you go and your Lord, and you two fight, as in you two brothers fight, because actually this is talking about these two men are those who fear God, and they're the prophets. They are Musa and Harun. And we're going to see how this links up at the end, and this is the correct understanding. So they said, you and your God go, and you two fight. Musa and Harun, you fight, we will sit here. Said he, my Lord, I have no power save over myself and my brother. So make thou a division between us and the perfidious people. He said, then shall it be forbidden them 40 years. They shall wander in the earth, and grieve thou not over the perfidious people. This word fasiqeen, perfidious, the lowest of the law, is used for those who break their oath with God. they render their agreement null and void. They split apart what God has joined to be what commanded to be joined. Okay, these are the worst of the worst, and here Musa is saying, "My Lord, I have no power over save myself and my brother. So make thou a division between us and the perfidious people, because they refuse to fight." And if you, like I said, God then says that He will leave them, that it is forbidden for them 40 years. Brother Gans makes a very excellent point here. He says 40 years. That's the if the people who were to expected to fight, they were in the age of 20, right? 20, 30, 40. In 40 years, they would be dead. So they were to wander, and they were to wander in the earth. They would never enter the city because they'd be dead in 40 years. So this was a recompense for this command to fight. You see how fighting in the cause of God is such a thing. It's such a big thing that this, if you know anything about the children of Israel's story, this is where the narrative ends. See, God forgave them the worship of the calf. He forgave them of them openly proclaiming, "Show us God." But this is the juncture where then that's it. I'm just trying to read into a little bit more text just to show you that the command to fight is a big thing. Verse 27, and recite thou to them the report of the two sons of Adam with the truth, when they offered an offering, and it was accepted from the one of them, and not accepted from the other. He said, "I will kill thee," said he. God only accepts from those of prudent fear. If thou stretch out against me thy hand to kill me, I will not stretch out my hand against thee to kill thee. I fear God, the Lord of all creation. I wish thee to bear my sin and thy sin, and to become of the companions of the fire, and that is the reward of the wrongdoers. Now, a lot of people have a lot of different interpretations of what this means. I just take it to mean that he was expecting that once his brother moved against him and killed him, that the sins of his sins would transfer on to his brother's sins as well, the sin upon sin, and to become the companions of fire. Anyway, so he killed his brother, and his soul allowed him the killing of his brother, and he killed him and became of the losers. Then God raised up a raven scratching in the earth to show him how to hide the shame of his brother. He said, "Woe is me! Am I not able to be as this raven and hide the shame of my brother?" And he became of the remorseful. Interesting story. I was telling my uncle about the Qur'an-Alone, and I said, the Quran contains in it everything. And he asked me, "Okay, how do you bury the dead? Because that's not in the Quran." And I showed him this verse, and I said, "Look, you can get from this that this is how you're supposed to bury the dead. You're supposed to dig the earth up and then put him in there." And obviously he didn't, respond to that line of reasoning. He just said, "Well, this had how do you know this is something we need to do? This was at the time of the sons of Adam, etc., etc." What I try to say is, if you really go in the Quran and look at it deeply, you'll find answers to all these questions. Verse 32, "For that cause we prescribe for the children of Israel that whoso takes a life other than for a life, or corruption in the land, it will be as if he killed mankind altogether. And whoso gives life, it will be as if he gave life to mankind altogether. And our messengers came to them with clear signs. Then many of them after that are committers of excess in the earth." Now, the word here is, "and whoso gives life." So, I mean, you can take this literally to mean give birth, or you could take it in the sense to spare life. Anyway, this whole theme about a life for life, this is in the Al-Kitab, and this is really the key of it, that everything has to be proportionate. We're going to read about that, God willing, some other time, where God tells us what he ordained for the children of Israel, an eye for an eye. Verse 33, "The reward but of those who war against God and his messenger, and strive to work corruption in the land, that they be killed, or they be crucified, or their hands and feet be cut off on opposite sides, or they be banished from the land, that They have disgrace in the world, and they have in the hereafter great punishment. I talked about proportionate punishment. This is proportionate punishment because if you remember, those who strive to work corruption in the land and war against God and His messenger, these are the tyrants. And we have an example of a tyrant in the Quran. His name is Pharaoh, right? And Pharaoh, he was striving and working corruption in the land, and he was killing the population, and he was crucifying them, or cutting their hands and feet on opposite sides. So this is all has to do with proportionate punishment. If that's what they do, then you can respond in kind. See, people take this out of context and say, look, the Quran is saying, you can crucify, you can cut off hands and feet on opposite sides. Yes, because it has to do with an eye for an eye. See, this is the proportionate punishment for these tyrants. What they're doing, they deserve to taste their own medicine. Save those who repent before you have power over them, and know that God is forgiving and merciful. Verse 35. O you heed warning, be in prudent fear of God, and seek to Him the means of approach, and strive in His cause that you might be successful. Seek to Him the means of approach, and strive in His cause that you might be successful. What is this striving in His cause? Verse 36. Those who ignore warning were there to have all that is in the earth and the like thereof with it, to seek to ransom themselves thereby from the punishment of their resurrection. It would not be accepted from them, and they have a painful punishment. They will wish to come forth from the fire, but they will not come forth from it, and they have a lasting punishment. Verse 38 continues, and the male thief and the female thief cut off their hand as a reward for what they have earned, as an exemplary punishment from God, and God is exalted in might and wise. And you have to read this in context, because this is talking about those who strive in the land to cause corruption and who war against God and His messenger. Okay, because this has nothing to do with some guy stealing an apple or something like that. Verse 39. Then whoso repents after his injustice and makes right, God will relent towards him. God is forgiving and merciful. Knowest thou not that God, to Him belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth? He punishes whom He wills and forgives whom He wills, and God is over all things powerful. Verse 41. O messenger, let there not grieve thee those who compete in denial among those who say, we believe, with their mouths, but when their hearts have not believed. And among those who hold to Judaism are eager listeners to lies, eager listeners to another people who have not come to thee. They twist words from their places, saying, if this be given you, receive it. But if it be not given you, beware. And whom God wishes to try, thou wilt not have power for him against God in anything. Those are they whose hearts God desires not to purify. They have in the world disgrace, and they have in the hereafter a great punishment. Verse 42. Eager listeners to lies, hearty consumers of illicit gain. And if they come to thee, judge thou between them, or turn thou away from them. If thou turnest away from them, they will not harm thee at all. But if thou judgest, judge thou between them with equity. God loves the equitable. And how come they to thee for judgment, when they have the Torah, wherein is the judgment of God? Then turn away after that, and those are not believers. We send down the Torah, wherein is guidance and light. The prophets who submitted judged thereby those who hold to Judaism, as did the rabbis and the religious scholars with what they were given charge of the writ of God, and were thereto witnesses. So fear not mankind, but fear me, and sell not my proofs at a cheap price. And whoso judges not by what God has sent down, it is they who are the false claimers of guidance. So, first things first, this word Torah in Arabic is Torah. Whether this is the Torah that the Jews say is the properly it would be the Tanakh. I don't know. This is beyond my scope of investigations, really, because I have the Al-Kitab, I have the Quran incomplete. So whether the Torah is what the Jews have or not, that's not my concern. But certainly the people who, the prophets, they judge by the Torah. And we see the function of the prophets. One of the function of the prophets is to, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier or not, but anyway, the messenger has a specific duty and the prophet has a specific duty. And the messengers are bearers of glad tidings and warners, and the prophets are the holders of the Al-Kitab. They are the custodians of the law. And here we're saying that they are judging by the Al-Kitab. So the prophets have this function. Muhammad was both a prophet and a messenger. And the prophets are also supposed to confirm the messenger when he comes. But anyway, it says, and whoso judges not by what God has sent down, it is they who are the false claimers of guidance. Al-Kafirun. This is one of the things that Muslims, properly speaking, they are not judging by what God has sent down, because they have their own stories in the Hadith literature, which they use to make judgments. Okay, and verse 45, and we prescribe for them therein a life for a life, and an eye for an eye, and a nose for a nose, and an ear for an ear, and a tooth for a tooth, and for wounds just requital. But whoso forgives it by way of charity, it is an expiation for him. And whoso judges not by what God has sent down, it is they who are the wrongdoers. So, like I have said earlier, this has to do with proportionate punishment. If someone transgresses against you, you transgress just as much as he has transgressed against you. But if you forgive, then God is saying, by way of charity, it is an expiation for you. Verse 46, and we sent Jesus, son of Mary, in their footsteps, confirming what was before him of the Torah, and we gave him the gospel, wherein was guidance and light, both confirming what was before him of the Torah, and his guidance and admonition for those of prudent fear. So Jesus was giving the gospel. This is not the New Testament by any stretch of the imagination, because the New Testament are accounts written of Jesus by Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Okay, so this has nothing to do with what was given to Jesus. This gospel, which in Arabic is called Injil. But again, I'm not really interested in these questions. And let the people of the gospel judge by what God sent down therein. And whoso judges not by what God has sent down, it is they who are the perfidious. And we send down to thee the writ with the truth, confirming what is before it of the writ, and as a control over it. So judge thou between them by what God has sent down, and follow thou not their vain desires, away from what has come to thee of the truth. So God sent down to Muhammad, that is the Quran. He sent down the writ with the truth. So the Al-Kitab in complete is sent down, is preserved in the Quran, and it is confirming the Al-Kitab. So this is the measure, this is the standard. There's a control over everything else. And Muhammad is being told that he needs to judge, he's been commanded that he needs to judge by what God has sent down, which is what? The Al-Kitab. He could not judge by any other book. And follow thou not their vain desires, away from what has come to thee of the truth. For each of you we appointed an ordinance and a procedure, and had God willed, he could have made you one community, but that he might try you in what he gave you. So why in good deeds unto God will you return altogether, and he will inform you of that wherein you differed. And judge thou between them by what God has sent down, and follow thou not their vain desires, and beware thou of them, lest they seduce thee away from some of what God has sent down to thee. And if they turn away, know thou that God but intends to afflict them for some of their transgressions, and many among men are perfidious. وَإِنَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّن النَّاسِ لَفَاسِقُونَ. See, kasir, many among men. If you follow the majority, they will lead you astray. They follow nothing but conjecture. They do nothing but lie. The majority, don't follow the majority. See, God is saying here, many among men are perfidious. Verse 50, is it the judgment of ignorance they seek? And who is better than God in judgment for people who are certain? So, God has already sent us the Al-Kitab, the Quran, that is to be used for judgment. Anyway, we're over the 1 hour mark, and I'm trying to keep these videos at 1 hour. So, I'm going to be stopping at verse 50, chapter 5, verse 50. God willing, I'll pick it up from there in the next session. Hope everyone is doing well. Until next time, peace and blessings be upon you.